Okay, so over the last 2 days, we've been discussing energy transition and how the implications for oil and gas-rich communities in Nigeria. As you're already aware, Nigerian government has pledged its commitment to net zero by 2060. And the government has also rolled out an energy transition plan detailing the methods and strategies it will use to achieve net zero by 2060. What the research that was launched today did was to engage the inclusiveness of the national energy transition plans. It's trying to ask the question that if transition does succeed, what alternatives are placed on the table for communities that are dependent on crude oil and have been devastated by decades of fossil fuel extraction. Is asking whether there are mechanisms, effective mechanisms for the delivery of benefits to these communities and also for their participation in the implementation of energy transition plans. And among several findings, the study found that the energy transition plans are silent on communities, silent on gender, silent on environmental accountability, and that is very concerning. And the research, during the research, the researchers, researching organizations, Spaces for Change and partners, they went to, they visited a lot of communities in the Niger Delta region that are impacted by petroleum, and including communities where that have been forced into artisanal refining as a result of decades of governmental neglect and extreme poverty in the region. And the perspectives coming out from the region suggest that communities want a transition that is conditioned on the presentation of a clear roadmap for righting the wrongs of the fossil fuel era, particularly the environmental injustices associated with fossil fuel extraction. They are asking for demanding inclusion, they are demanding participation. They do not want to be relegated to spectators. They want to be active participants and stakeholders in the green economy, not just recipients of handouts packaged as corporate social responsibility initiatives. We also looked at the energy transition proposals by the major oil and gas corporations in Nigeria, and we found out that they have also publicly pledged their commitment to oil, energy transition. Some of them have even changed their names, in alignment with the new trend. But we looked at their proposals and we saw that there are shallow commitments to communities, issues affecting communities. There was environmental accountability still lags behind. We also found that the trends, the current corporate trends and practices, particularly those entrenching power asymmetry and power and knowledge asymmetry, those practices, there isn't anything in those transition proposals that suggests a departure. And these things are very concerning. And these are some of the issues raised at the report launch today. Well, what the conversations we have had today suggest that there seems to be a disparity between verbal commitments of the government and the body language of the government. Even the policy commitments, recently the government was happy about certain recent oil finds in the country. So sustained investment in oil exploration appears to be contradictory to energy transition ambitions. Another thing is that the PIA, which Petroleum Industry Act, commits a certain, provides for the Frontier Exploration Fund, which is committing certain percentage, I think up to 30% of our profit oil to frontier, development. So all of these things show that Nigeria is still heavily interested in oil because of there's so much heavy investment in oil exploration. And at the same time, the government is also pledging its commitment to net zero by 2060. So there aren't signs that suggest that the government is phasing down or winding down its reliance on crude oil. And we have advocated for that gap to close, for the government to close the gap between its verbal commitments and its actions, so that we can have a clear direction of the government's position on energy transition.